again. This is Doc Rotten from Gruesome Magazine. Joining me tonight is the one and only Jeff Moore. He's here to talk about a film called Let Her Out. This one looks interesting. Jeff, sir, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
So tell me about Let Her Out. What is this all about? What's happening here?
Well, the quickest the quickest way to get it across is, remember Edward Morday from Legend and from Freak Show?
Yes.
American Horror Story Freak
from
Show.
American Horror Story, yes.
Yes, so this is a story of a woman who has a phantom or invisible twin that apparently was absorbed into her skull in utero. So she's a bike courier, and she is in a very serious accident, and wakes up in the hospital, and from that point on, things just aren't quite the same, and she's having blackouts and strange visions of what happened during the blackout, and things that don't make sense, that have changed in her life. And she goes in for an MRI, and they discover the phantom twin in her head. Little remnants of a spine and a face and things like that, and it's growing and getting larger. And they schedule a surgery for 3 days hence to alleviate the pressure and take care of her problem. But alas, that is not soon enough. And it starts out, there's kind of a twist at the beginning. It starts out with showing a woman in a motel who's a prostitute, and at some point, there's people going in and out of her room, and at some point somebody comes and she says, no, we're closed, and the guy just barges in, and he's obviously evil of some kind. And then we flash forward a little bit, and she's pregnant, and she tries to kill the child by stabbing herself in the abdomen, and the baby that's born is the main character, Helen, and the mother dies at that point. So that's where she came from, and sort of gives you an idea of where there may be some sort of evil involved in this phantom twin. There's two main characters that have by far the most screen time, is Helen, who is the woman with the problem, and she's played by Alanna LeVierge, and Molly is her good friend and roommate, who is played by Nina Kiri. They both have a few credits under their wing, but not anything I had seen. Helen is on screen, I would say, close to 100% of the time. And she goes through lots of different psychological things, and it ends up at one point, it kind of ends up being kind of a body horror type thing. And I don't know if I want to give anything away in the end, but people die.
People die. Yeah. Well, you answered the question I was going to ask. Is this a supernatural film? Is it a possession film or a body horror? So of the three, you say it leans more toward body horror?
Well, that's, except for the possible sort of, who was this person that inseminated her mother and created this sort of evil twin that's starting to take over, right? That's the only possibility of supernatural, I think.
Yeah. What's the strength of the film? Is it the story, the acting, the effects?
I think that Alanna LeVierge does a great job, and the effects are very good. I mean, there's a lot of really cringe-worthy things, even just thinking about them. So, yeah, both those things. I think it's actually it's pretty well done. There's an opening scene that is just off a little bit. It's the first scene where we see Helen. It's after we get where she came from, the mother's rape and death, and then it flashes to 23 years forward, and her first delivery that we see as a bike courier. It's off, and I did not have high hopes at that point, but it really started to click after that.
Oh, nice. Well, that's a good segue into your your score, 1 to 5, and your favorite scene for Let Her Out.
Ooh, well, the favorite scene. Oh Lord, I'm going to say the favorite scene is sort of her. I don't know how to say it. She rips out of her own skin. Is that body horror enough?
That's body horror enough. All right.
And I would give this I'm waffling here a little bit. I'm going to say a 3.25.
Very nice. 3.25. All right. Well, Jeff, thank you for another great review. Let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Be sure to visit gruesomemagazine.com to listen to the other Gruesome podcasts, Hard News Radio, and Decades of Horror. Also check out the Gruesome Magazine Quarterly, available in digital and print on-demand format. Gruesome Magazine.